Welcome back to another episode of Flagrant Fridays. I am your host, Nick, as per usual, and with me today, as usual, is Christian.
Hello, hello. I like that you say per usual, though technically speaking, the host switches every episode.
Well, I am present on the podcast.
It's okay, I probably said it too.
Today we got some news around the NFL regarding some game information, and then we also have some playoff news for you from the NHL and NBA. And we also have a special segment today that is an 100-point team challenge.
Yep. So basically, each of us is going to spin a wheel of a random NBA team. We can get repeats, and then whatever team we get, we have to pick a player, and we have to specify the year they played, so we can take that year's points averaged. And this is all time as well. And whoever gets closest to 100 points by the end wins. The one caveat, I guess, is that you have to pick people in their positions. So point guard, shooting guard, through center. I was going to ask though, do you want to look up their averages at the end so it's a little bit harder for us? Or do you want to look it up as we pick that player so we have a little bit of a reference? I'm good with either.
Yeah, I like the hard route, but also with it being our first time attempting, I don't know.
Well, in my mind, the hard route kind of depends on how well you believe in your understanding and memory of that year. I think we go the hard route, and if it goes terrible, we live and we learn. All right, so I'll start us off. The first team that I have to use is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ooh, this is kind of tough because obviously there is some big name players that have played there, but I don't know. Oh gosh, I have to know the years too. I was thinking like I could pick Jimmy Butler, but honestly, I don't remember what years he was on that team. If we pick a year that they weren't on the team, is that just count as zero? Or should we pick the closest year?
Probably the closest year.
Okay. I'm gonna go with 2008 Kevin Garnett as my power forward.
Wait, you picked 2008 Kevin Garnett? That's a Celtic year. Are we going?
Oh, you're right, that is a Celtic year. He was on earlier than that, wasn't he?
Uh, I'll look it up real quick. I think he was.
Well, we already said we're just go with the closest year. So
Okay.
it could end
So
up being
if it's his first year,
2005.
if it's his first year or his last year, I guess we'll find out later.
Well, he played on the team.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it was his first year on the Timberwolves or his last year on the Timberwolves.
Well, it would have to be the last year, right? Because I don't think he ever went back to the Timberwolves.
I don't remember.
Because
I
if he
thought he
never went
played.
back, then the closest to 2008 would be whatever the last year he played was.
Yeah, that's true.
But we will find out. Your team is the Knicks. A lot of history there. You got a lot of options.
Hmm. Who do I want to go with?
I think I know what you're gonna say.
I'm thinking I'm gonna go. Shoot, he. I don't think he got drafted to the Knicks. I was gonna say 2004 Carmelo Anthony, but I don't think he was on the Knicks that early in his career. I think he was on the Nuggets.
Well, we will take the earliest if that's what you want to go with, or the closest. I mean.
I might go Allen Iverson. I'm trying to think. Maybe even J.R. Smith. You know what? I'll take Carl Anthony Towns this season at the center. I bet he's pretty close to 20.
Okay. I thought for sure you were gonna take Jalen Brunson, but you're going for the 20 all around route.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, my next team, the Chicago Bulls. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Kevin Garnett probably averaged between 15 and 23. So I need someone around that 20-point mark. I believe MJ has averaged around the 25 mark because I don't know if he ever averaged like 30 points a game because back then that was kind of hard to do without threes. So I feel like MJ is a safe option, but maybe I should just go Scottie Pippen. What year did Scottie Pippen play without MJ? Was that 99?
94 and 95, and then 99. I don't know if he was there. I don't remember.
All right, I'm gonna go 99 Scottie Pippen, and if he wasn't, then I guess it will have to be 98 as my small forward. All right, your team is the Denver Nuggets.
I think I have to go with it because I was thinking it. I'm going to go 2004 Carmelo Anthony.
Okay. I thought you might go with Jamal Murray.
Oh, I could have the championship year. I'm gonna stick with Carmelo.
I got the Hawks. I feel like Trey Young's a pretty safe bet. He was good, but he wasn't generational. Some older players might be somewhat safe too, but you know what? I'll go like I'm just gonna do a random year. 2022, uh, Trey Young. Your next team, the Portland Trailblazers.
Hmm. Trailblazers. I feel like CJ McCollum would be a good pick here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go CJ McCollum. Now I gotta decide what year I'm gonna go with. I'll go 2020 McCollum. I don't know if he was still on the team then.
I also got the Trailblazers. And I can't think of any centers off the top of my head, so I guess I'll go CJ McCollum.
Well, there was if you're trying to go the 30-10 route, there was
I think most of my players are on the 20 mark though.
Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll go CJ McCollum a year that he would have been bad, which would have been towards the end of his career, I suppose. So since we're doing the closest rule, I'll go 21. Why not? He might have been off the team, I'm not sure. All right, your last team,
Second to
or mine,
last.
second to last team, is the Timberwolves.
Ooh. I think I'm gonna go with Kevin Love.
Okay. Yeah, I like that pick.
Who was it again? The Timberwolves?
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is a shooting guard, I think, so I can't go Anthony Edwards. I'm trying
Could
to think
go,
of recent point guards. If I did
this
want to,
would probably be a bad pick, but you could go Derrick Rose.
I'll go Derrick Rose.
But I feel like he averaged less than 10, even though
Oh
he had that
right, he,
one,
he
like,
was
really
he
good
was
night.
better. He was better on the Knicks, I think. I'll go Kevin Love, and I'll go his rookie season, which I think was 2011.
Alright.
No, I'll go his second season just in case, because I don't know what his rookie season was like.
I thought his rookie season was way earlier than 2011.
I thought he was drafted in the same draft as Kyrie Irving.
He might have been, but for some reason, I was
Is
thinking
it
earlier.
is either that or
That's probably about
2013?
right.
I'll change it to 2013.
My last team is the Washington Wizards. Let's see. I'm at what? 20, 40, maybe 60. I'm at around 80, give or take 5 or 8 points probably. So I want to get around 20 points. Geez, a center who averaged 20 points?
Boom, Gortat.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's the only center I could think of.
It would work if Scotty, CJ, Trey, and Kevin all scored like 25, but I'm a little worried there. Some of them might be under 20.
Wes Unseld.
I'm trying to
That
think
was a
of some of
long
the
time
Bullets
ago.
players because they did win championships, so maybe they had a good center back then.
Wes Unseld was in like the 70s, I think.
I might have to go Gortat, I'll be honest. I'll go I'll go Gortat because that's the only one I can think of, but I did just look up a list of the best in all time, and they had Gortat as second best, and the best was some guy named Juwan Howard.
Did he even have Wes Unseld?
He was number 5,
Really?
but I'm sure West might have scored more than Gortat. So for this sake, that probably would have been better. But I'll go Gortat in the year 2016. Pretty sure he's on that roster. All right, your actual final team this time, the Raptors.
I feel like my only option here is Kyle Lowry. But what year? I'll go their championship year,
Well,
2019.
you could go, what's his name? Fred Van Fleet? Or was he a shooting guard?
He was a point guard, but I don't want to take him. He was backup.
I thought at one year he wasn't a backup.
He was a starter after Kyle Lowry left, but only for like 1 or 2 seasons, then he left.
Okay. All right, well, go ahead, look up your averages and add it next to your player, and then we're add up the scores. CJ McCollum did play in 2021, and he scored slightly less points than 2020, so I'm glad I picked that year.
Oh, jeez.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen did not play in 1999 for the Bears. What?
What?
So I'll go closest year 1998. Honestly, though, that helps. That's to closer to 20. It would have been 12 points a game. All right, so 2006 would have been the closest. I should have labeled what teams they were, but I remember. Dude, I'm getting so lucky. All the years that I'm slightly off, the closer one is closer to to 20 points. I think Gortat might screw me though. Oh gosh. I'm seeing some years he averaged like 3 points. Other years he was closer to like 15.
Kevin Love was drafted in 2009. Jeez, I took him at like the peak of his career. I should have taken 2011.
Just to clarify, we're taking the end year, right? So it would have been like the 2015-2016 season.
Yeah. If I would have taken 2011, I would have had 20.2 points per game instead of 26.1.
Would that have helped you though in the end? Like, did you go over?
Yeah, I went over. I think he
Oh
got
my god.
I think he got right there.
That's insane. All right. We added up our totals and here's the final results. 2022, Trey Young scored 26.2 points a game. So that was a good pull by me. CJ McCollum in 2021 had 20.5. Scottie Pippen in 99 did not play for the Bulls, so the closest year 98 was 19.1. Kevin Garnett 2008 did not play for the Timberwolves, but in 2007 he had 22.4. And then Gortat in 2016 had 13.5 points. So my total was 101.7. So I was only 1.7 points off of 100 points. That's crazy.
So Kyle Lowry had 16.2 points per game in 2019. CJ McCollum had 23.1 points per game in 2020. Carmelo Anthony had 21 points per game in 2004. Kevin Love, I should have went with my gut reaction when I said 2011 the first time because he actually averaged 20 points per game, which would have put me at point 0.4 over.
Jeez.
But I went with 2013 Kevin Love, which was 26.1 points per game. And Carl Anthony Towns for 2026 was at 20.1 points per game. So I was over by 6.5.
Oh, that's a pretty good score. I think our approach going for 20 is the right approach, though. I saw people online doing like two people who scored over 30 and then trying to scramble for the other ones. And they ended up like 10 points or more over. That's insane, though, how close both of us were.
Mhm.
Especially if you would have got that Kevin Love pick. That was fun. We might have to do that again with some variations on the rules. Now we're going to move on to Ball and Order. 30 former Ohio State football players, including some former NFL players, have agreed to join a federal lawsuit against the university over the sexual abuse of student athletes decades ago by a team doctor, a lawyer in the case said Thursday. The lawyer, Rocky Ratliff, said in an interview that the men came forward some 8 years after the first lawsuit was filed because they needed to overcome the shame of revealing that they had been sexually abused by another man and the fear of taking on the university publicly. Ohio State has fought lawsuits in federal court since 2018 brought by former student athletes against the university over its failure to stop abuse by Dr. Richard Strauss. Hundreds say they were abused by Strauss, who worked at the school from 78 to 1998. He died in 2005. The men have signed letters of agreement to join a lawsuit filed by other student athletes who say they were victims of Strauss, Ratliff said. Of the 30, only 3 have agreed to make their identities public. They are Al Washington, Ray Ellis, and Keith Ferguson. All were members of the 1980 Rose Bowl team and were recruited by and played for legendary coach Woody Hayes. Some other former football players have settled with the school in sealed agreements that kept their names secret. As of April 15th, the university has settled with 317 survivors for more than $61 million and remains actively engaged in mediation, the school said. It's kind of crazy. I wonder how many people actually like warned the school about it though. It doesn't make any mention of that.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of this until a couple days ago.
Because presumably, yeah, there's going to be people that stay silent, but I would think out of those 317, at least a couple would have went to the school about it. So it's no wonder that the school is the ones that are ending up having to pay for
Hmm.
damages.
Yeah, I have no idea. I would assume they wouldn't, because it said that they kept quiet for 8 years because they felt ashamed that they were violated by another
Right.
man.
But I find that hard to believe that everyone kept quiet. So that would lead me to believe that the school didn't take the necessary actions that they should have,
Yeah.
since they worked there for a long time.
Moving on to some college football news, the NCAA's Football Oversight Committee on Thursday voted to adopt a proposal that allows conferences the flexibility to choose a 5-7 team that has met certain academic standards to fill bowl game opportunities if there aren't enough deserving teams. It's not final until the proposal is reviewed by the D1 cabinet at its June meeting. Only 3 bowl teams last year were 5-7. I feel like this is pretty fair given your academic standings, like if all your players have like high GPAs or whatever.
Yeah, and with the playoffs expanding all the time, it feels like bowl games are kind of getting left in the dust. So maybe being able to let some of those lesser known teams or struggling teams get in might be beneficial for them. And Ohio State became the first FBS team with a multi-year APR score rate. They had a score of 1,000 APR, which, if you don't know,
It's like a school rating. I don't know exactly what it is, but they are one of 2 teams to do it this year. The other team with 1,000 APR, Alabama is the other team.
academic progress rate, the likelihood of graduation based on their eligibility and retention in school. So 1,000 is a perfect score. So that means not a single athlete was at risk of not graduating.
Yeah.
But doesn't that beg the question of if the school is just being really lenient? Because some schools are like super lenient about missing classes and stuff for athletes. So I wonder how that's actually reviewed and if they take that into account. Regardless, we got some other news about Ohio State. They revealed their new black uniforms, and actually today they revealed their home and away uniforms. So let's talk about the home and away first. They're very similar to last year's with the exception of a sort of helmet stripe look on the top of the sleeves on the shoulder. I guess not the top, but the side of the sleeves. I actually don't really like the addition to the stripe on the sleeves, but it's not too bad.
That older jersey reminds me of like the 2014 National Championship days when they wore those stripes. The heritage stripes is what they're called.
Yeah.
Um, I I personally like them just because of the nostalgia for me from watching that first season as a Buckeyes fan, and they were wearing those, and they won the national championship.
Yeah, fair enough. They also revealed their new black uniforms, which they are bringing back. I think the last time they had them, CJ Stroud was playing, so it's been a
Hmm.
little bit. Although, are they changing the helmet stickers, or were they always like that?
They were always like that. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I don't remember it, but if they did change it, it's a good change. If they didn't, then I'm glad they kept it. But the helmet stickers are not the traditional like Buckeye green logo, I guess. White and green. It's just all black with a red Buckeye leaf, and it looks really cool. Black and red really work well together.
Actually, I don't think they used Leafs the last time they
Oh
wore
yeah,
them. I
that's
think they
right.
were just
I
all
remember that
black.
was one of the new additions. I don't think they did helmet stickers for those jerseys.
Yeah, I think they just had the black helmet that was just basic black.
So yeah, these new stickers really make the look even more
Actually,
cool than they
no.
already did.
I see an old picture of CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. with black and red stickers, so I don't think it is new.
You keep flipping back and forth on me.
Because I found an old picture and CJ Stroud had no stickers, and then I kept scrolling and CJ Stroud had stickers.
Okay, well,
So it must have been a different game.
I guess it's the Mandela effect, but regardless, it looks cool. Now we got a little bit of NFL news. After drafting Florida kicker Trey Smack in the sixth round, the Packers released veteran kicker Brandon McManus.
The Broncos and their general manager, George Patton, have reached an agreement on a 5-year deal that runs through the 2030 season.
And Johan Jennings and the Minnesota Vikings reached an agreement today on a 1-year deal worth up to $13 million.
Jets and Brees Hall reached an agreement on a 3-year deal worth up to $45.75 million.
And the Steelers have agreed to terms with Chris Boswell on a 4-year, $28 million extension. The $7 million average per year ties him with Brandon Aubrey for the highest paid kicker in NFL history.
And then we have an update on the referees. We talked about them off and on about how they'd have to do college referees. And now a statement came out that the NFL and the NFL Referees Association have reached a 7-year collective bargaining agreement that will run through the 2032 NFL season. Current deal was scheduled to expire this May. So now they won't have to use those backup referees from college.
Do you know any if there's any big news things with that deal? Like certain requirements or whatever?
I have no idea. I didn't read too deep into it.
Okay. A little update on some game information. The season's first Monday Night Football game will be September 14th, and it will be between the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, and it will be at Kansas City. I mean, technically it's in Kansas, right?
They're moving to Kansas, but I don't know when they're planning on doing that.
Oh yeah, that might not have happened yet.
And then the NFL schedule is being released this week. It'll be released tomorrow. But here are some important dates to watch out for. So Thursday, August 6th is the Hall of Fame game, which is the Panthers versus the Cardinals. Wednesday, September 9th is the NFL season opener, which is the Super Bowl champion Seahawks versus an opponent, but the Seahawks will be the home team. And then Sunday, January 10th, 2027 will be the final day of the regular season. And then Sunday, February 14th of next year will be Super Bowl 61 at SoFi Stadium. And
On
that'll be on
Valentine's Day.
ESPN. Yeah, on Valentine's Day.
So who plays in the Hall of Fame game? Is it like old people that played for the Panthers and Cardinals?
No, it's kind of like a commemorative thing for Hall of Fame players. It's played in Canton, Ohio, at the Hall of Fame
But it's the
museum.
actual team?
Yeah, it's like the actual Panthers and Cardinals roster.
Oh, okay. So it's like a preseason game.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I remember in Madden 25 you could play as the Hall of Fame teams or whatever, and you could play in Can.
yeah, I remember that too.
That was fun. And this just in, the NFL's 2026 international games are officially set. I don't think they're planning on adding any more, right?
No, I believe that's all.
Okay, so we have week 1, Rams and 49ers in Australia. Week 3, Ravens and Cowboys in Brazil. Week 4, Colts and Commanders in London. Week 5, Eagles Jaguars in London. Week 6, Texans and Jaguars in London. Week 7, Steelers and Saints in France. Week 9, Bengals and Falcons in Spain. Week 10 is Patriots Lions in Germany. And then week 11 is Vikings 49ers in Mexico. If you're a British NFL fan, week 4, 5, and 6, you might have the potential to go to 3 separate games.
Two of them being Jaguars.
Yeah, 2 of them being Jaguars. But that's like an opportunity that wouldn't really be possible to most American fans. Like, could you imagine going to 3 separate games all over the country?
And I'm sure they have them a little cheaper than over here because, or maybe even,
Well,
I
maybe.
doubt it. They
They
might
might
be
not be.
more. It might be more since it's less of an opportunity, but I don't know. And then the NFL also released that the first Sunday night game of the season will be September 13th, and it'll be the Cowboys in the Giants MetLife Stadium.
And a little bit more news. Buffalo will open its new stadium on Thursday Night Football in week 2 when the Bills host the Lions. And I believe that stadium is still outdoors, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Which is a little odd of a decision, considering there's money to be made if you can host a Super Bowl.
Mm.
And then a holiday division duel will be happening between the Cowboys and the Eagles on Thanksgiving. Cowboys are hosting that game. Although I don't know if there's rules about if there's snow that would affect parking if there can be a Super Bowl. Because all the teams that host the Super Bowl are indoors or outdoors, but I think they're all relatively in like warm places, even if they are indoors. So it might not matter.
So a Super Bowl can be held in a northern team stadium, but is rare and typically requires the stadium to be a dome or, in rare exceptions, a new or state-of-the-art facility. With the NFL prefers warm weather sites or
Makes
domes.
sense. But honestly, I think the Buffalo Bills probably like the home field advantage of playing in the snow because they're used to it to some extent.
But with it being the new stadium, there's a possibility, but I kind of doubt it that there'll be a Super Bowl there.
Well, if it's not indoor, if it's all outdoors, I don't think it would be possible.
Yeah, especially if there's a blizzard. That would suck. Super Bowl and then there's a blizzard right before the Super Bowl.
The Blizzard Bowl.
The Rams will play the Packers at home on Wednesday, November 25th at 8 p.m. and will be streamed on Netflix.
Is this the first Netflix streamed game?
No, they
Oh.
streamed the Christmas games on Netflix last year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And the NFLPA announced players strongly wanting high-quality grass fields after stadiums started replacing turf for the upcoming World Cup. Yeah, I mean, this is a long debated topic. There's a lot of factors that are involved, but I think overall grass is probably better, as hard as it might be to maintain and maybe a little bit more expensive to maintain. I have seen some like soccer stadiums use super advanced technology where like the grass can like go into the basement level using like elevators, and then they have like built-in watering tools and stuff. But I don't see that being a norm for every team. That's like $1 billion project probably. But the point is, it is possible to maintain grass if they want to.
From a perspective, from being, I didn't play football on turf and grass, but I have done marching band on turf and grass.
Well,
I
we've done
was,
soccer,
yeah, we've done soccer on turf and grass. So I
and I
feel
think
like,
turf soccer sucks.
yeah, turf is a lot harder on your body, I feel, because there's not much give, which
You
could be
get
why
rug
there's so many
burn,
injuries. Yeah.
you get those little uh pellet thingies in your shoes. In soccer's case, the ball rolls faster, which has pros and cons. But yeah, the only downside to grass is if it's muddy.
If it's raining a lot or whatever.
And our last bit of NFL news, Charlie Young, an all-pro tight end who helped the San Francisco 49ers win their first ever Super Bowl, has sadly passed away. He was 75 years old. The 49ers said Tuesday they were told of Young's death and by his wife. No cause of death was disclosed, though. He played 13 seasons in the NFL for the Eagles, Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks, with his greatest individual success coming from Philadelphia before he later joined San Francisco, which helped launch their dynasty.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Charlie Young.
And now we're going on to the NBA segment. All right, let's get it over with. Let's rip off the band-aid. The Lakers got swept. There's a lot of controversy about the refs. I don't think we're going to go into that much. But the Thunder were outscoring the Lakers by a lot, so I don't think it would have ultimately mattered. Yeah, so Thunder won that game. They went 4-0. They will play the winner of the Timberwolves and Spurs game. And that series is currently led by the Spurs 3-2. And I really think the only like real Spurs losses they've had so far has been when like Wemby has either been injured, uh, what, kicked out of the game or shot bad. And the
hmm
games that they lost were still pretty close games. So I think, to be honest, the Spurs are a legitimate threat if Wemby stays healthy and shoots well. In fact, we've seen them beat the Thunder multiple times this season. So I anticipate if the Spurs go on to win, that should be a pretty fun series.
And we'll look over to the East where the Knicks swept the 76ers.
Joel Embiid finally got over that Game 7 hump just to get swept.
Yep, and it's not like any of these games were really close either. They got blown out in the last game.
Yeah,
I think, my personal opinion, I think the Knicks are the favorite in the East.
I would agree. I think they finally started to get their footing, and I think they have way too much talent on that team. They have multiple guys that can easily score over 20 points a night.
Mhm.
So,
And then over in the top of the bracket, the Pistons and the Cavs are tied right now with the game 5 coming tonight. That game will be in Detroit. So when we come back next week, those games will be settled and we'll be into the conference finals.
yep. So one thing we wanted to point out is that game 2 against the Timberwolves, the Spurs won 133 to 95. This is actually the Wolves' largest postseason loss in their history. Also, Wembanyama got ejected game 4. He straight up elbowed a guy, and on the bench he was really confused what a flagrant 2 foul is, right? That's what it
hmm
was. I guess he didn't know that was a thing because he's generally not much of a rough guy, I guess.
And then the Knicks scored the second most points in a playoff half in franchise history with 81 points to win the series against the 76ers. And if you remember, last week they just broke their record against the Hawks in Game 7 in the first round with 83 points.
The Knicks also tied the record for most three-pointers made in a playoff half with 18, and tied most threes in a playoff quarter with 11. So yeah, they're a very offensive dominant threat, I would have to say.
I think maybe not the Thunder, but I think if the Spurs win, they match up really well with the Spurs.
Yeah, from that couple Spurs games I've had the privilege to watch this year, I think the Spurs can struggle at three-point defense at times. So that could be a bit closer than we would initially think.
And then Donovan Mitchell tied the NBA playoff record for most points in a half, and that happened in Game 4 against the Pistons with 39 points. So a lot of history being tied, whether
Yeah.
it's playoff history or franchise history.
And we have a couple updates with head coaches and staff. So Steve Kerr has officially agreed on a new 2-year contract to return as the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. Some people are saying that the Warriors should consider getting rid of him because it's time to kind of start fresh. And they've been kind of critical of him the last couple years. But I do think, considering the fact that Steph just re-signed a 1-year contract, that it's not impossible for them to win one last championship. In fact, there's rumors that they might try to sign basically the retirement home team of people like LeBron and KD to kind of just make one last push for a championship.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could too. It might not work, but it will be fun.
The Philadelphia 76ers announced that Daryl Morey is out as the president of basketball operations after 6 seasons with the team.
And head coach Nick Nurse will continue his role into a fourth season with the 76ers.
And sadly, we have to announce that PJ Tucker has announced his retirement from professional basketball after 20 years, including 14 seasons in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I was glad to see him finally get a ring. That Bucks team was kind of special, and he was a big part of it. Kind of played a Draymond Green role on that team, I would say.
I could see, I could see that.
And the NBA draft lottery has officially concluded. Number one went to the Washington Wizards. The last time they had a number one overall pick, they drafted John Wall. That didn't eventually lead to much, but you can't really deny he was a pretty good player in his prime.
Hmm.
Number two went to the Jazz. Number three went to the Grizzlies. Number four went to the Bulls. Number five technically went to the Pacers, but I think it was protected for how many
Top
spots?
four.
Top four. So it just barely didn't meet that requirement. So unfortunately for the Pacers, it went to the Clippers, which could be huge for them. Number six was the Brooklyn Nets. Seven was the Kings. Eight was Hawks. Nine was the Mavericks, which is a pretty respectable spot to hopefully give Cooper Flag some help. Number 10 was the Bucks. 11 was the Warriors, which I heard some people projecting that they might pick up the center from Michigan. If that's true, the Warriors might actually have a decent center for once. Number 12 went to the Thunder. They could trade this. I could see them doing that, but if they don't, that's just more firepower to an already dominant team. 13 was the Heat, and 14 was the Hornets.
And then, speaking of the draft lottery and the Pacers are the first team in NBA history to finish the season with less than 20 wins and not have a first round pick to draft afterward. So, what happened was they traded a number 5 overall pick in the 2026 draft for Ivica Zubac, which, if you don't know Ivica Zubac, he's a mid center.
I did like the Pacers. I think it was the president or something. He came out with a statement and basically said like, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate what happened, but we like Zubac has contributed to our team and we're gonna continue to push on. I thought it was a decent response. But yeah, that is really unfortunate if you're a Pacers fan that they did not end up getting a top four pick, so they had to trade that away.
And you and I were talking about that last year about them tanking on purpose to get Tyrese Halliburton some help for next season.
Yeah.
And now they don't even have that pick.
Honestly, it kind of makes you wonder if the lottery's rigged because they got fined earlier in the season. They also all of a sudden are changing the draft system to prevent tanking. I don't know, kind of raises some red flags. The NBA also officially concluded its investigation into the Milwaukee Bucks over the shutdown and health of Giannis Antetokounmpo late in the season, and they determined that no further action is warranted.
Speaking of Giannis and the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks are open for business on trade calls and offers for Giannis entering the NBA Combine and over the 6 weeks ahead of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we hear similar things to that every year. Will something actually happen? Maybe. This time it's a little bit different because it's specifically like for the draft and stuff. But I guess time will tell what happens there. If they do end up trading that away, they already have a uh, the 10th pick, so they could have two top 10 picks in this year's draft.
Yeah, that'd be good for the Bucks, but suck for Giannis because now they're getting him help and he's not going to be there.
It might not suck for him depending what team he goes to.
Yeah, I could see him going to one of those top teams.
Like I could see the Clippers giving a player and the 5th pick possibly. Maybe even the Mavericks. But Mavericks don't have a ton to offer. We got a little bit more NBA news. Sadly, we have to report another passing. Brandon Clark, a veteran forward known for playing on the Memphis Grizzlies, although I don't know if he actually ever played for any other teams, has sadly died. The team announced this Tuesday, and I believe he was only 30,
29.
29, coming up on 30. Uh, and it's coming out now that it might have been possibly from a drug overdose. I also saw that he was expected to go to some pretty serious court hearings soon. And I also saw that he hasn't really been getting minutes the last couple of years of his career. So I wonder if all those things kind of combined just kind of led him down a path of drugs, if that is the case of his death, which is sad if true.
And we have to report another death, sadly. 13-year NBA veteran Jason Collins, who was also the first openly gay player in NBA history, has died at 47 years old after he was diagnosed with stage 4.
Glioblastoma, which I looked up. It's a type of brain tumor that effectively, when you get diagnosed with it, they don't even label it as something that is like treatable. I saw that in like younger people, like kids, there's like maybe a 6% survival rate to like 5 years, but everyone else, it's pretty much like within 4 to 6 months, and then with treatment, possibly a little over a year. So my guess is that he kind of knew this was coming, and I hope that within that, him and his family were kind of preparing for that. But nonetheless, it's sad. Our last bit of NBA news. The ongoing investigation involving the Clippers' Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard could change the entire landscape of the NBA. If the Clippers are found guilty, the events of 2019 may be overturned. This would mean that Shai Alexander would return to the Clippers, Paul George would go back to Oklahoma City, and Kawhi Leonard would forfeit the remaining years on his contract. Additionally, Steve Ballmer would have to pay $50 million in legal fees. So what is this referring to exactly?
So I did a little bit of research on this, and it's referring to uh, this guy, Steve Ballmer, who was helping the Clippers pay for Kawhi Leonard's contract or something like that. And apparently that's illegal in the NBA.
Yeah, because teams have like a limit, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can't like pay with outside sources.
Mm-hmm.
It seems weird to me though that they would have to go back to those teams. It seems more likely to me that they would become either free agents or just stay on their teams and then the Clippers would be fined.
Yeah, that would be crazy if SGA went back to the Clippers because then the Clippers would be benefiting from this.
Yeah, that's so I I I don't know. I don't see a reality where that would be possible. I see it much more likely that the Clippers would have to pay a fee and possibly be, I guess, not allowed to maybe get the next couple drafts. So maybe like for 2 years they have like a draft ban or something. It just doesn't make sense to me that they would force players to leave the teams they're on because Shea really didn't have anything to do with this, presumably. And
Mm-hmm.
he's on a championship level team.
Yeah, I don't know.
And now we're going to go on to the miscellaneous segment. So we have a little bit of an update on the NHL playoffs. The Colorado Avalanche are up 3-1 against the Minnesota Wild. The Las Vegas Knights are up 3-2 against the Anaheim Ducks. The Buffalo Sabres are tied with the Montreal Canadiens 2-2. And the Carolina Hurricanes swept the Philadelphia Flyers 4-0. So they're waiting on the winner of the Canadiens Sabres game.
And then in some other news following the NHL, the salary cap will climb to $104 million next season, an $8.5 million increase. So teams were informed of the new figures for the 2026-27 season by the NHL and NHLPA on last Wednesday. Per the collective bargaining agreement, increases are calculated based off the prior year's financials and joint hockey related revenue. So what this means is starting next season, the maximum salary for a player will be 20.8 million, and the NHL's highest paid player is set to be Minnesota Wild star Kirill Kaprizov, whose $17 million per year extension would kick in next season. The salary cap floor will be $76.9 million.
And the NCAA has officially confirmed that the men and women's basketball tournaments are going to expand to 76 teams starting in next year, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Starting next year. So that'll be cool, I guess, to see if that impacts some outcomes of brackets and whatnot.
And speaking of basketball, Angel Reese was
Recently traded.
recently traded, but she is the fastest player to 50 double doubles in WNBA history. She did it in 64 career games.
Self rebounds helps. But either way, it is pretty impressive. And T Mac, aka Tracy McGrady, has taken a role with the Wagner College as a strategic advisor for the men's basketball program. He will lead Wagner's basketball operations, as well as recruiting and name, image, and likeness efforts. He joins a number of current and former NBA players to take administrative positions in college, such as John Wall, Howard University, Stephen Curry at Davidson, and Shaq at Sacramento State.
And then our last bit of news for today is Darren Tang won the PBA title this past weekend, and he became the first player to win a PBA Tour title one handed and two handed.
So he just switched randomly?
He used to be a one handed bowler, and then, like, the last 1 or 2 years, he became a two handed bowler.
Well, a lot of people seem to be doing that lately.
Yeah, and I think bowling's actually starting to become more popular, kind of at the professional level. I've seen a lot more news about it recently, and so that's good for bowling. That's good for me. That's good for you. That's good for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough sport to advertise in some sense because there's not a lot of variety to each game. Um, for instance, in a sport like pool, like, yeah, each pro is probably capable of clearing the entire rack without the other opponent ever getting a chance to shoot. But depending where the balls land, the game varies, right? But in bowling, the only like real variety is if they get a strike or not. And if they don't get a strike, is it a spare? Is it a split? And so I think that's hard to draw people into.
Well, they also have different oil patterns per event, so that's
That's
another
true.
variability.
It's hard to get people into that, I feel like, because, it's not like football where you can completely change offensive schemes game to game and you have to prep for the other team. It's just straight up go there, bowl. Account for the oil pattern, sure. Maybe you change your grip, whatever. But for the most part, there's just I don't know, I feel like that lack of variety is what's holding it back.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's really possible to change without making some sort of alternative rule set. And I don't even know what that would look like.
Yeah, plus bowling's kind of one of those things that you would rather do than watch.
Yeah, I would agree.
So I think that's another downside for them.
Well, that's about it for this episode. You got anything to add?
Nope. Well, I think we about said it all.
Well, we will see you guys in the next episode. As always, thank you for listening. And yeah, talk to you soon.
Yeah. Smile more.